Peace be upon you. I made a video last week where I talked about Code 19, and I got so heated, I'm recording the video, and I got heated by myself, recording this video to the threats that I was receiving. People messaging me on TikTok saying, oh, you and your people deserve death or something like this, basically death threats. This is absurd. First of all, I'm not scared, come at me. Second of all, it's more that you're so insecure in your faith that you have to command my death, that you have to attempt to inflict pain upon me. You can try, but only God has control and judgment over these things. You don't. One of the prophets that said to the people in power, I control life and death. And he said, my God brought the sun from the east, so you bring it from the west. And this is the nature of the absurdity that you think you're in control of the absolute laws of physics that everything obeys by. This is what it is. It obeys the laws of physics. It obeys the laws of God. So it comes to this question of, can you prevent death? No. Can you cause it? Also no. You may strike the strike. You didn't commit the actual act that was upon God. It's also repeated in 8:17. God is in control of everything. It was not you who threw, it was God who threw. God gives you a chance to earn some credits. Anyway, so recorded this whole video, binned it because I got so angry, but I want to talk about a separate topic today. I want to talk about obeying God, atiullah wa atur rasul, and obeying the messenger. So, 19 times in the Quran, God says obey God, obey the messenger. And I've seen it go in two ways. One, on the Sunni path, they say this is how the only way you can obey God or the messenger is by following the hadith. This is a massive leap in conjecture. And then the other way, where people have said these are submitters now that believe in Rashad Khalifa as the messenger of God. They say, wow, he's dead. You can't follow a dead messenger. And both fail to see that the obedience act is a constitution or a constitutional act upon the message. So for example, you could say, obey me. And to obey me, I have to give you some commandments, or I have to give you some instructions. If I don't give you an instruction, there's nothing to obey. And so I tell you, make sure you never lie. Let's say I'm your dad, a king of the land, and I tell you to never lie. You go around and you don't lie. You obeyed me. When I died, did my instruction dissipate with me? The answer is no. The commandment is clear, especially if I wrote it down in a will. So I've externalized the information such that you could access it at any time. Did he really say that? Yes, it's in this piece of paper. He said, do not lie. If you lie, whatever consequence could happen. So there's a fundamental importance in God's message in the Quran when he says, obey God and obey the messenger, which is the fact that the message in itself is like a treasure chest. It's a bar of gold. It's like money. In and of itself, it's useless. If you were trapped in an island and you found $1 trillion or several bars of gold, whatever the case may be, it would be useless to you. The only reason money and all these earthly materials are useful is because there's a transaction to be made. I can use money to talk to you, to make you give me something that I want, for example. Agreeably, obviously, but the more money I have, the more wealth that I have, the more leverage I have over that situation. I could use force, for example, or I could use coercion, other means to make you give me what I want. But because we're intelligent creatures, we've understood that there's a mode of operation. It's actually easier, more sensible for all of us to operate it under the same rule, which is money, for example. Back in the days, it used to be bartering. I give you my cow, you give me 7 sheep, or whatever the case is. And so this is what the message is. The Quran, in its purest form, is al-hikmah. It's a bar of gold, or many, 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 many bars of gold sat on a pile. I could pick it up, and then I could say, oh, I want to use this for something bad. This is the examples of the Sunni. They'll go into one direction, and say it says, obey Muhammad, for example. It may even say or infer that you should use the hadith as a means to obey Muhammad. This is false. There's nothing in the Quran, in any verse, where God says you should follow other hadith than the Quran. The Quran was described as the Asana hadith, or the best hadith. And so I've taken this bar of gold and I've misused it. There's nothing to be gained from this. Or another example, this bar of gold is there, this mountainous pile of gold and wealth, and someone is explaining to you what this wealth is. Someone is prescribing for you efficiently how to use it in your life. Instead of spending this bar of gold, buying lots of wasteful material in this life, someone is saying to you, no, you should build a house, you should create charitable donations, so on and so forth. Said person is a mediator between you and the material wealth. You yourself are unreliable as a mediator because your judgment is based on where you were born into. You could be born into a satanic cult, and you would believe that there are all these ridicule things that you must do. You could be born as I was, a Sunni. You could believe that the hadith is powerful, or has any value, or is wahi, divine revelation. It's not. You'll see a lot of hadith and it's utterly nonsense. There's hadith about killing she-monkey because it committed adultery or something like this. There's hadith about how the Prophet used to wipe his butt with odd number of rocks. There's hadith about Aisha being the age of 6. None of these are corroborated, and none of this effectively are true from my eyes. So you get to the point where you have a mediator, and the only trustworthy mediator is God. God commands to righteousness. God does not command to vice or immorality. So if I came in by myself, I wouldn't know what to do with this bar of gold. I need instructions. I need some kind of standardization of the message, of the utility and the efficiency in which I can use this material gain. And that's what a messenger does. Standardizes and mediates the message. So a messenger of God knows what God wants. Muhammad wasn't confused when God revealed to him, say this, Qul Allahu Ahad, or whatever the case may be. He would say this verbatim. He was given divine revelation, and he was given divine guidance. This is called divine agency, because they themselves are not acting as themselves. They're acting as an agent of God. God is instructing them on what they should do. So we go back to this reference. On one end, you take the bar of gold as a Sunni. You make up absolute lies about God, saying that you must follow the hadith. No such verse exists in the Quran. And naturally it's a lie. And the other end, you've got people that pick up this bar of gold and say, this is mine. I can interpret it and do with it what I will, because I understand God's will. That is also incorrect. Ultimately, you need a mediator, someone given divine agency by God to translate it for you. And this is what we have. And as much as the messenger is dead, his message lives on. The message of God lives on. So this is how you can still obey God, by obeying the messenger.